friends, it's me, Blanche, and welcome back to Feast in the Middle East. This is where I show you how to make authentic Middle Eastern recipes, but with a modern twist so that you could incorporate it into your daily, busy lifestyle. Today's no exception. I'm so excited, guys. Can I tell you? There is a specialty in Jerusalem called Gak Simsim or Gak al-Uts, which means either sesame cake or Jerusalem cake. It's not really a cake, it's bread, right? And it has this incredible smell, and to me, that smells like Jerusalem. And I often find myself wishing that I could have a piece of that bread.
This is traditional sesame bread, or what we call cake. This is 100% Jerusalemite thing. You can get it elsewhere, it never tastes the same. Even if the same baker goes outside the city, it doesn't taste the same. They're still doing old style. Olive wood logs are thrown inside. He will prepare this, which is bread with sesame. It has a bit of sugar in it. Okay? And the aroma of the olive wood has a huge effect on the tasting. So, good duck. Okay?
There are 3 distinct bakeries in Jerusalem that make this specialty bread, and bakers start preparing these loaves at 3 or 4 in the morning.
It's nothing like eating falafel and kakab simsim in a Jerusalem alleyway. Right here. Snack on the go in Jerusalem. This is, you have to eat this if you're here. Must.
But today, I'm going to show you how to make it with literally 3 to 4 ingredients, depending on what you have on hand. And it is ridiculously easy to make. And get this, no yeast required, barely any kneading required, and you don't need to let the dough rise for hours and hours in your kitchen. You have to really see it to believe it. Look at this. Look at this. It is absolutely beautiful. And this is the shape. This is the shape that they sell it in Jerusalem, sort of like an oval. It's similar to a bagel, but it's kind of fluffier and lighter in texture. And in today's episode, you just need 3 ingredients, right? So flour, and I like to use flour. There's 2 kinds of flour. I like Caputo flour, which is Italian, or Francine flour from France, because I don't really like American flours. That's just a little snobby foodie thing. And then either yogurt or cottage cheese, depending on your preference. And I'm going to show you how the loaves turn out with Greek yogurt versus cottage cheese. Next, to let the dough rise, I just use baking powder, but if you use self-rising flour, you could omit this ingredient altogether. And finally, sesame seeds. Now, sesame seeds really make this gakab simsim, sesame cake, sesame bread. So, you know, you could do without it, but I feel like it's really necessary to really capture the essence of this bread. Since it's still sweater weather here, even in California.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Oh, God, I would.
Finally, sweater weather.
This is a great way to enjoy baked bread from home without a bread maker, without having to spend hours in the kitchen. The kitchen smells amazing, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to make right now.
To get started, all you have to do is add 1 cup of flour and then 1 cup of cottage cheese. That is basically it for the main part of the bread. It is pure sorcery. You do want it to rise though, so add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Then to give the bread flavor, I suggest 1 teaspoon of salt followed by a tablespoon of sugar. That's right, sugar. Jerusalem bread does have a little bit of sugar to balance out the flavor. Now you just want to stir it around until it's all incorporated. Now you're going to have to get in there with your hands to knead the dough, which really doesn't take too long. You just want to kind of keep pushing it away with the palm of your hand, folding it over. Repeat the process until it forms a nice ball that doesn't stick. Now you want to roll it into a 1 to 2 inch thick rope so you could form it into an oval shape that is traditional in Jerusalem. You could also form it into a bagel shape if you want. I do find that adding olive oil to my hands makes it all easier to work with. Now I like to bake the bread on greased parchment paper. The final touch, which is optional, is to brush the dough with either milk or egg to give it a glossy sheen. I tried both, and to be honest, I do prefer an egg wash to give it a golden hue and even an extra bit of flavor. Now sprinkle with sesame seeds, the traditional Jerusalem way. I had some black sesame seeds too, so I figured I'd add those to the mix. Totally optional. Bake on the top rack of your oven at 375 degrees for 25 minutes, and this is what you get. It is like pure magic. I suggest waiting at least 15 minutes before cutting into it. The dough with the cottage cheese turned out really chewy and almost cheesy in the center.
The easy yogurt bread, 1.5 cups of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 cup of Greek yogurt. You can use full fat or zero fat depending on your preferences. There we go. And now we're just going to stir it around before we start kneading it with our hands.
Yogurt has less salt than cottage cheese, so it is so important to add at least a teaspoon of salt to the dough, as well as a tablespoon of sugar. This time I used gloves, and I find that it did make it a bit easier. The same method, you just keep kneading it until it forms a nice ball that you could roll out into a rope and form into an oblong sort of bagel shape. Brush with either milk or an egg wash, sprinkle with sesame seeds, and ready to bake. Same thing, top rack, 375 degrees for about 25 minutes. And just like that, you end up with these beautiful loaves of bread. To be honest, I liked the yogurt loaves more than the cottage cheese loaves. I felt like the bread was fluffier and crispier on the outside. In any case, you can't go wrong with either. Whatever you have in your refrigerator, you're going to have some homemade bread with an additional amount of protein.
If you like sesame, another recipe is in my cookbook for these sesame cookies. They are amazing. I used to eat these with my grandfather with a strong cup of tea, and I use modern day ingredients like avocado oil to avoid seed oils. Over 200 pages filled with photos and stories, historical references, meticulous directions. I used to have to call my mom constantly to get directions for recipes. No more. This is all I need. And hopefully it's all you will need too. To get your copy, go to feastinthemiddleeast.com. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and that way you can see my videos as soon as I upload them. Share this video with someone else that loves ka'kab simsim. And until next time, I will see you soon.
Always so grateful to my Patreon fam. Thank you so much for your support. I love sharing the inside scoop with you before everyone else finds out.